Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. Happy weekend to one and all. I am here in what is turning out to be kind of a tradition now for pay-per-views. I'm coming up here on the Friday before every pay-per-view live and doing predictions. It's turned out to be much easier and allows me a lot more time to work on other stuff. So here I am. We're talking all things Fastlane today. I'll maybe hang out here for an hour. I can only hang out for about that long at the most because I do have to get out of here and head to work. But I'm going to predict the whole pay-per-view. We'll run through it. We'll speculate on WrestleMania. We've got some other things to talk about as well in terms of Ronda Rousey and Monday Night Raw. Shit like that, so there's a lot to get into. Can you hear me? Yes, you can. All right, I'm going to go down here and say hello to everybody in the chat. Try to get a little bit of an audience in here first, and then we'll start diving into what we're going to get into. So if we want to chat for 5-10 minutes here, we can do that. I'm going to go down here and see who is in the chat. Normally on Fridays, we don't have a huge audience in here, but this video will remain up all weekend long. You can refer back to it and see how my predictions turn out. What's going on, Bob and Rude Killer and Ratnick and Beetle? What are y'all doing on a Friday afternoon? Don't y'all have school or work or something? What is it? It's on the East Coast. It's what, 6 p.m.? It's 3 p.m. for me. Yes, I'm going off the script tonight. What is it? Fuck the WWE Universe or whatever the hell Ronda was saying. The woman, or the wrestler who doesn't understand wrestling is working everybody, and I love it. It's the best. I mean, that's the most interesting shit going on right now, right, with the women? I think so. I'm going to talk all about Kevin Owens versus Daniel Bryan. I'm not too terribly excited for Fastlane. I mean, to me, this is the very definition of a throwaway pay-per-view, you know, in my opinion. So I don't really have a whole lot of interest in any of these matches, and that's awful, because I should care about Owens and Bryan, but I don't care about Owens and Bryan thrown together, and I don't care about Kevin Owens being a heel, or being a babyface, excuse me. And I think there's more than that to meets the eye. It just doesn't seem right that this is not the type of guy that would just come back as a baby-kissing babyface. It just doesn't make sense. All those little promos and those vignettes on his cell phone prior to his return from the bowling alley or with his family, he's just coming off as really overly sappy, and I just don't trust it. And I think that his babyface turn maybe is temporary and part of a grander scheme, I would hope, because otherwise, not a big fan so far. And we're going to talk all about that, because I've got some ideas for Kofi Kingston and all that stuff at WrestleMania. How you doing, Concept, and Down Ice, and Wyatt? How y'all doing? Thanks for coming in and hanging out on a Friday afternoon. Appreciate it. Should be a pretty fun weekend. It always is whenever there's a pay-per-view, so I will be up here this Sunday. Pay-per-view, I believe, starts at 7 Eastern, so I'll be up here for the main card only. I'm not going to do the kickoff. And we'll try our best to pay attention, because, like I said, I don't know what to expect on this pay-per-view. I don't even really have any title changes predicted. I think maybe one, but I don't really have a whole lot going on this show, so I think it's all just more of a setup for WrestleMania, and I hope it's at least good. Because I think this is a pay-per-view we don't even need. I wish Fastlane wasn't even in the middle. All these matches, if you're going to have Becky and Charlotte, just do that shit on Raw or Smackdown with the same stipulation. Make that a main event of one of their shows, you know, just to help ratings. And Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, same thing. What's wrong with Daniel Bryan defending the title on SmackDown? Just do it there. So I don't even think we need Fastlane. But there's nothing we can do about it. It's here, and I'm going to watch it. Silva, what's going on? I got my fresh, refreshing water this afternoon. I'm heading to work for a pretty big night at work, so no beers for this guy. We'll save that for Sunday. Yeah, I agree. KO is much better as a heel, and I'm going to talk about that when we get in our predictions. That'll probably be the last match I talk about, because I'm going to kind of go in order of, you know, most important to least important kind of thing. So, yeah, we're about to jump into these predictions here, so we'll do that in a second. I'll let everybody kind of gather around. You guys can sit down, Indian style, gather around in a circle. I don't care what you do. We'll talk about this together. And we'll predict it together. Let me know as I go through here if you agree or disagree with what I'm going to predict. Oh, yeah. That'd be nice to do a Saturday night's main event show, but the magic is gone. Nothing will ever recreate that feeling of the 80s and 90s. And when WWE has tried to bring Saturday night's main event back in, you know, in the mid-2000s or whenever they've done that a couple times, it's just a glorified, prettied up, overproduced wrestling show like only WWE can do. And the old school feel and the vibe that you got from those old shows is long been flushed down the shitter. They'll never be able to recreate that. Thank you, Anthony Garcia. You're the man, too. I appreciate that super chat. I will answer any super chats that do fly in here. If you do send one in the middle of a long prediction or a thought or a line of thinking, I might have to just delay it a few minutes until I answer it, but I will get to all of them here tonight. So yeah, let's get into this, because I definitely want to talk about the Daniel Bryan stuff and Kevin Owens and this tie-in and what's going to happen now with Kofi Kingston and what I think WWE might be doing and positioning us for at WrestleMania. I don't know if I'm excited or terrified. I think I'm a little bit of both. So I didn't even make any super big notes here. All I'm doing is I'm pulling up WWE.com. I've got the entire Fastlane card right here. We got a couple of kickoff matches, one of which was just announced, and I saw something today that Xavier Woods found out about his Fastlane match on Twitter. Hilarious. But it's going to be Big E and Xavier Woods taking on Shinsuke Nakamura and Rusev in a kickoff match. Who do you pick here? It's a slap together match, so does it really matter who wins? I'm gonna go New Day. Fuck it, let's go New Day on that. I don't know what Kofi is doing. I guess he'll be on the outside of the ring. We also have Rey Mysterio and Andrade on the kickoff match, which is a little bit surprising. I thought they could throw that match on the main card. You know, just give us a really good, solid wrestling match on the pay-per-view. But it's also a match that we've seen a couple of times on Smackdown already. So giving us that on a pay-per-view main card might be pointless, but so is giving it to us on the kickoff match. So to me, I feel like this is still setting up what they're going to do at WrestleMania. I feel like Andrade and Rey could have a match, and we've been speculating on the mask coming off of Rey Mysterio. They might want to try to do that again. Maybe Rey, or maybe they don't like the way it was done the first time. I mean, I'm horrified that Rey had to unmask the way he did in WCW. So if he is ever going to unmask again, maybe do it right, and maybe this is all leading to a WrestleMania match, but I don't know. In terms of who wins this, who won the last one, Rey or Andrade? I can't even remember. Again, this to me is a toss-up. I'm going to go Mysterio. I feel a babyface winning in this match could better set up a rematch in the future. I don't know why. So I'm going Rey. And then Andrade getting pissed and wanting a rematch, and they set up something else at WrestleMania. But you know, kickoff matches aren't always bad. You know, the New Day and the Usos had a tremendous one, you know, whenever that was, a couple years ago. So they can be all right. But, you know, those are two pros, and I think that they should be on the main card. So if you agree with me, I'm sure you do. What's going on, Zane? Main card time now. If you're just tuning in, I'm just jumping in here to the predictions of Fastlane. I just ran through the two kickoff matches. I've got the New Day going over Nakamura and Rusev, and Mysterio going over Andrade. Didn't really think those through, and I'm a little bit nervous about both babyfaces going over there, but who knows. In a match that I'm a little bit, and I will talk about that at the end, Nicola. Yeah, Samoa Joe versus Cena looks likely. Remind me to talk about that at the end in case I forget. Raw tag team titles on the line at Fastlane. Triple threat. We've got the Revival defending against Aleister Black and Ricochet, and Bobby Roode and Chad Gable. Sam, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Yes, I did, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit when I get into my prediction on Becky and Charlotte. So stay tuned, buddy. And I also saw your tweet. I appreciate it. Right now, I'm predicting the Raw Tag Team Title triple threat match. I am nervous because the Revival, I think, this is a good opportunity for them to retain here, because Aleister Black and Ricochet, it does not seem like WWE has any interest in having them lose on TV right now. So if it's a triple threat, Gable and Roode can take the finish, and all's right with the world. The Revival retains. They've lost an awful lot on TV lately. They finally got a win, I think, last week. I still think it's way too early to take the titles off of them, but at the same time, Black and Ricochet are in the Dusty Classic, right? Would they have the Raw Tag Team Champions win that? Like, it seems like everything is just getting really flopped around. So as much as I think Aleister Black and Ricochet, since they felt like a slap together tag team, but they are kind of a team, at least for right now. If this was a one-on-one match, I would almost pick them, but I think the Revival is going to figure out a way to retain, so I'm picking them, and I think they'll probably score the pin over Gable and Roode somehow to retain the title there. Smackdown, women's title, Asuka versus Mandy Rose. Very surprised to hear how many people think Mandy Rose is going to win this match. I never like to be that fan that insists that they know it's definitely not going to happen. There's no way they're going to do that. This is who's going to win. I'm right, you're wrong, period. I don't have that opinion very often. This is one where I have that opinion. Asuka's not losing to Mandy Rose. She's not going to score some upset. You know, she's not going to wrestle her at WrestleMania. Lacey Evans isn't going to work with Asuka at WrestleMania. Well, she might, but if she does, she ain't beating her. And I just don't see Asuka losing here. She already lost to Mandy Rose on TV. Very generic way to set up a title match. We see it all the time. Champion gets pinned, rematch, champion wins. I mean, you mean Mandy Rose is going to beat her twice? You know, we already saw this fucking with of Asuka last year. This is a chance for Asuka to kind of get rebuilt a little bit as best you can. There's no reason for her to lose the title now to Mandy Rose of all fucking people 2 months after she won it at TLC. And any sort of SmackDown women's title change that happens right now, at least in the next couple of months, is going to be secondary and insignificant and forgotten about in comparison to what they're doing on Raw. That's the main event of WrestleMania. That's Becky, Charlotte, and Ronda. You know, that's the focal point right now. That's what the women's division is centered around. If you have another title change on the side, who cares almost, you know? So I think this is a good chance for Asuka just to quietly keep going on her run. I say she's champion until Money in the Bank. If it was up to me, I'd have the briefcase holder be the one to beat Asuka. And that could be months from now. It doesn't have to be at Money in the Bank. It could be SummerSlam. You know, so if it was up to me, you know, if you're going to attempt at all to salvage Asuka, giving her an 8-month title run is a pretty good way to do it, I think. You know, and hell, have her keep it longer for all I care. I don't care. But I certainly don't feel like it's right for a title change for her right now, because the opponents that are going to be put in front of her right now, like Mandy Rose, and likely at WrestleMania with some new opponent, are just going to be opponents for her. You know, unless they make things fun. We've seen a lot of NXT call-ups. Maybe Kairi Sane comes in or somebody like that to challenge Asuka at WrestleMania. That could be fun. I have no interest whatsoever in seeing Lacey Evans take on Asuka at all. But I don't really have a whole lot of interest in Asuka taking on anybody on the SmackDown roster. So if it does turn out to be Evans, I guess that's better than nothing. But either way, I just think Asuka should retain at Fastlane and retain at WrestleMania. Hell, maybe she takes on Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville in a handicap match at WrestleMania. Beats them both or something. I don't know. I don't take the belt off of Asuka right now, and I don't take the belt off of Asuka for a while. I wait until the Raw shit plays out, till you get on the other side of Mania, whatever happens with Becky and Ronda, and whatever sort of moment Becky has, because you also have to think in terms of WrestleMania. Think about that. Think of Asuka winning to WrestleMania to face, for example, Lacey Evans. And Lacey wins the title. Her moment ain't going to mean shit if 2 hours later, Becky is celebrating Daniel Bryan WrestleMania 30 style in the main event. Ain't going to happen. Asuka's your champ for months to come. Women's tag team title on the line. Sasha Banks and Bayley taking on Nia and Tamina. Don't see Sasha and Bayley dropping the belts on their first title defense. Plus, I think it's really awesome that they're floating all the brands. When they showed up on NXT last week, I'm like, holy shit, I had no idea that was the plan. So I want to see Sasha and Bayley at least have one match in NXT before they do any dropping of any titles. And plus, you got to set them up for a fairly big match at WrestleMania. Some people have thrown out legends like Trish and Lita. Others have said the Bella Twins, which damn near gives me a stroke. But for right now, I don't see Sasha and Bayley dropping the belts. I say they retain against Rikishi and Haku. SmackDown Tag Team Championships on the line. The Usos defending against Shane and Miz. I feel like something's going to happen here. Shane and Miz, you got to think, are going to be facing each other at WrestleMania. So they can't really win the titles here. Or could they? You know, maybe they can still win. Don't forget, Dean Ambrose turned on Seth Rollins when they were champs. He turned on him the night they won the titles, didn't he? So there's no rule that says they can't win here. And I don't have any title changes predicted for this show. So I feel like I got to predict one. So just for shits and gigs, I'm going Shane and Miz to regain the tag team titles and maybe do the split sometime between now and WrestleMania. I haven't seen... Excuse me while I shoo my cat away. Hey, get out of here. He found a piece of paper. It's driving me crazy. Anyway, I don't see... I think whatever they do at WrestleMania needs to be set up here, and I didn't see much of SmackDown this week. I don't even know if I recall if I saw what the Shane and the Miz did. But I know the Miz's dad is going to be there, and there's going to be some sort of a tie-in there. I mentioned in my last episode that maybe the Miz's dad could turn heel on him or some shit. I don't know. So I think this is a really bad prediction to make, and I'm almost positive I'm going to be wrong. But I'm predicting it anyway because I don't have anybody else dropping their belts. So I'm going Shane and Miz to pick up the tag team titles. Why not? The Shield is back together. They're taking on Baron Corbin, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. What would you do here? Would you have the Shield lose? Would you have Roman Reigns lose his first match back just to set up more confusion and speculation as to what the state of the Shield is? Maybe Dean Ambrose is only sort of cooperative, or maybe something goes wrong. Maybe there's a miscommunication, something like that. And Corbin, McIntyre, and Lashley are able to score some sort of a crazy victory. God, my cat is driving me crazy. Or do you just have the Shield dominate like always, and then Seth goes into WrestleMania? Because don't forget, he's getting the title shot, and you usually want that guy on a pretty big roll, going into WrestleMania. Not maybe losing the pay-per-view before might not be the best idea, but I don't know. I'm going Shield, just the way WWE is. If it was up to me, I maybe would have the Shield lose, cause some possible tension. Hell, I'd turn Roman Reigns heel at WrestleMania. But that's me. That ain't WWE. And I have a feeling WWE will put the Shield over here. Nice feel-good moment, welcome back moment for Roman Reigns. And then they do something down the road at WrestleMania. Now, what I fear here is that Roman Reigns coming back has maybe changed WWE's plans or ideas for Seth Rollins. I had him pegged all along after Roman left. I'm like, you have to have somebody else on your roster that can say they beat Brock Lesnar clean. Somebody with that feather in their cap, somebody with that on their resume. And when Roman left, you got to do it with somebody. And I felt like Seth Rollins was the best person on the roster currently, just in terms of, what a good wrestler he is, his history with Brock, his legacy and all that. I think it would be a perfect win for him to have. He's a young guy. He'll be here forever, and he should take the title. Now that Roman is back, WWE might be changing up everything, which is why I think they yanked Kofi Kingston out of this main event here at Fastlane, because they might be setting us up for some happiness with Kofi, but a whole lot of disappointment with Lesnar and Seth Rollins. So now I am not convinced at all that Seth Rollins is going to beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I think it might actually be the other way around. And I think, sorry to interrupt myself here, but Ralph Lauren, I don't think Leo, unless you're talking about Fastlane or what happened last week, but if you think Leo may be costing them the match, I don't think the Shield needs any help from Leo Rush, but you might be talking about a completely different match. Anyway, with what they're doing with Seth Rollins now, I worry that they're going to have Brock retain. Roman might be right back in the mix. They're really pushing home the love fest between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Seth has turned heel on the Shield once. Dean has turned heel on the Shield once. It's Roman's turn. Like I said, this is me. It's not WWE. WWE does not have the balls to do this because they didn't do it with John Cena. But if it was up to me, I would turn Roman, man. Why not? Make it fun. That big speech that the McMahons gave us on Raw in December. If you really mean that shit, then let's have some fun. Because with these fans in a few weeks, the boos are going to come right back to Roman Reigns, leukemia or no leukemia. And they might be a little bit on his side now, but the minute he starts getting back into that title hunt, the fans are going to be shitting on him just like they did before he left. So, might as well. I just don't understand why WWE wouldn't do this. I would love to see Roman Reigns do what Ronda Rousey did. And be like, fuck all y'all. It would be great. And then all the fans can, work themselves into a tizzy. Like, oh my God, I can't believe Roman's saying these things and exposing the business and he doesn't understand. And all the while, he's just playing him like a puppet. I would love to see that. But if they do it, a whole nother story, But I would love to see maybe if Seth Rollins is not going to beat Brock. And again, not like Brock needs help to beat anybody. Brock can easily beat Seth Rollins completely clean, no help required. But if you do throw in a Roman Reigns heel turn at the end there, and Roman screws over Seth for some reason, I don't know why he would. Why would he help Brock? They'd have to figure out a way to do that somehow. And it really wouldn't make a lot of sense saying it out loud and on paper. But if they figure out a way for it to make sense and have Roman do the heel turn at WrestleMania, costing Seth, and maybe you got a two-man power trip with Roman and Brock, with Heyman in the middle, between the two of them. Oh, Lord. That would be one hell of a way to close out WrestleMania, wouldn't it? But I don't see, that wouldn't make any sense for Roman to do that. Why would he help Brock keep the title when he wants the title? And that might not even work out. But if you can figure out a way, and throw me your suggestions in the comments here if you're watching this after I've gone live. If you have any idea how they could make a Roman Reigns heel turn work. It's very easy to say, oh, just turn him heel. It's not that easy. How does it work? What's the reasoning for him to turn heel? Why did he turn heel? And how do you just keep the storyline going without just saying the day before, oh, let's turn him heel tomorrow, with no plan of how and where you're going in the future. So it's As long as they can figure out a way to do it, and it makes sense, I'm all for it. And I think Roman would be a great heel. Chris Ludecki, thanks, dude. I appreciate that super chat. Do you think they move Seth to SmackDown as a top babyface against Bryan so Seth stays relevant? Great idea. Didn't think about that. We've got the shakeup coming up, I don't know when, a couple weeks after WrestleMania. And they might need to shuffle some guys around. And if Roman is going to be the big dog again on Monday Night Raw, might you want to chuck Seth over to SmackDown? Yeah. Maybe win the WWE title again over there. I thought Seth should have bounced over there at the last shakeup. So maybe now's the time. Hell, maybe you throw AJ over on Raw. You can build a new house. Kind of takes away his catchphrase, but throwing AJ on Raw might be kind of fun. But yeah, I'm all for Seth moving to SmackDown, especially if he does not win the Universal title. Did I miss any other super chats there? I don't think I did. All we got left here, actually, is the main event. I'm sorry. No, we don't. I'm wrong. Can't even read my own damn notes. We're not at the main event yet. We are at Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch. This one is fun. Becky Lynch, the stipulation here is if she wins, she is added to the match at WrestleMania. It becomes a triple threat. Charlotte has nothing to lose. The only thing Charlotte has to lose is her odds of winning the title going down if Becky is added to the match. If I was Charlotte, I wouldn't even care. You know, I was like, I'm just trying to go through this match, not get hurt. At least I know I'm still getting my title shot at WrestleMania. So I don't know if Charlotte, given what she went through with Ronda at Survivor Series, not being able to beat her, basically having to pull out the kendo stick when she was about to get her ass beat to save herself. You know, is she really that confident that she can beat Ronda one-on-one? Charlotte's odds might actually go up if Becky is in the match, and she can capitalize on some shit between the two of them. So I don't even know why Charlotte Flair would be fighting that hard against Becky Lynch in this match. But again, I've talked about this in my last several episodes. Let's go all the way back to October. Let's start with Evolution, okay? Charlotte lost, right, to Becky Lynch. Then we move on to Survivor Series. Charlotte was getting her ass kicked pretty good by Ronda Rousey, lost versus via DQ. Then she goes into TLC in the ladder match and loses that. Then she goes into the Royal Rumble and gets dumped out by Becky Lynch. Now she's going to go to Fastlane and lose to Becky Lynch. Then she's going to go to WrestleMania and lose to Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey. No, I can't see WWE doing that. That's so many fucking pay-per-view losses in a row. And if Becky Lynch is going to have the big moment at WrestleMania, which we expect her to, WWE got to throw Charlotte some bone. You know, all the fans think that she's just giving everything. Not really, man. She's losing all the time. So you know what I'd do here? I'd have Charlotte win. Just to freak out the fans. Just to watch them panic. Because they will. They will full-blown panic. Category 5 meltdown. All across Twitter for 24 straight hours until we get to Monday Night Raw. And then you can still add Becky to the match later. You know, who knows what they're going to do. Ronda Rousey's acting crazy after she turned heel on Raw. There's plenty of ways, even with this loss, that Becky Lynch could find her way into the match. Maybe Ronda crashes the match at Fastlane, and it's thrown out. I can see that happening. Maybe Ronda just jumps in and just beats the crap out of both of them and annihilates both of them. You like in a very heelish type of way. Bloodies them both up even. You know, last Monday, the way she was stepping on Becky Lynch's face, that's what I would do to both Charlotte and Becky. Have their both of their bloody carcasses laying in the ring with Ronda standing in between them, holding the belt up, cutting a scathing promo on the audience. That would be a great way to end that match. But if they don't, I think it's just a little bit too easy to have Becky Lynch win and then go to WrestleMania and win. It's been a windy road so far. They've taken some turns that we didn't expect them to. I want them to take one more turn that we don't expect. And I want Charlotte Flair to get the win here. And then the next night on Raw or the week after or whenever, you find a way to fit Becky Lynch in. Maybe she's screwed and somebody steps in, Vince or Stephanie or somebody, or maybe Ronda does something to insist that Becky's added to the match. There's a million things you could do to get her in there. And I would like to swerve us one more time before you finally make the match official. There's no rush. Still got a whole month till WrestleMania. You can do it next week, week after, whatever. I wouldn't mind them kind of scaring the fans. WWE likes to do that. They like to troll the fans, and the fans fall for it every time. Imagine, if you will, just imagine, on Sunday, if Charlotte wins, and in storyline, that means Becky is out of WrestleMania. Just imagine that 24 hours on Twitter or on any sort of social media. Imagine how bad everybody's going to be freaking out. WWE's out of touch. This is fucking stupid. They hand Ronda Rousey everything. I'm canceling my network. You're going to hear the craziest shit. And all the while, WWE is going to be sitting there laughing their asses off at everybody panicking when we know, dudes, I promise you, even if that happens, it would just take a really special kind of slowness mentally to actually think that they're going to leave Becky Lynch off of WrestleMania. Come on. You know, we all know she's going to get the moment. They're setting up for it. Ronda's being a fucking bitch to everybody. She's calling out the WWE universe, calling out the fans, calling wrestling fake, disrespecting the business, pissing the fans off left and right. They are setting her ass out to tap out at WrestleMania to that disarmor. That fake armbar is going to tap Ronda Rousey out. So, did your parents ever tell you patience is a virtue? My mom said that shit all the time. And I think that regardless of what happens, if you don't get the outcome that you want at Fastlane, breathe into a paper bag, take a Xanax, all's going to be all right with the world, I promise you. So just for fun, I'm picking Charlotte Flair to get a surprise victory here and to send the fans into panic mode for 24 hours until the triple threat is eventually made official. Now it's time for the... Oh, actually, do we still want to talk about Ronda Rousey? You guys were asking me about that. I will talk about Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens here in a second. Tar Brehan, thank you, buddy, for the $2. You're awesome. Been a while since you made a live stream. Yeah, I'm always here on Mondays, but other days are kind of rare. I've been doing the Friday things, though. So from now on, for pay-per-views, I'll be up here the Friday prior to every pay-per-view live, generally at the same time. 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and I'm doing my live predictions this way from now on. It turns out that it really helps me with my YouTube schedule. It's working out pretty well. So keep that in mind if you can't make my Monday live streams. By the way, how many people are in here? 100 people. Guess we can't ask for much more than that. If you have not thumbs up this video, will you do me that favor? Try to get us up to like 100 likes or something. I'd really appreciate that. But before we talk about the main event, I want to talk about Ronda Rousey because I was up here on Monday night. We watched her beat the shit out of Becky Lynch at the end of Monday Night Raw. She's essentially turned heel now, which I was surprised about. I didn't think WWE would do that. I kind of wanted Ronda Rousey to turn heel. I think Ronda Rousey, her persona and her attitude and her demeanor in the UFC would translate great as a heel in wrestling. But I thought WWE had the Roman Reigns mentality with Ronda Rousey. They wanted her to be a babyface, and they were even trying to set her up to where the fans weren't shitting on her too hard. She had a great year. She held her own in the ring. She was very good in the ring. A little bit hit or miss on her promos. More misses than hits, I would have to say, but nothing to really crucify her for. And all in all, she turned out to be one of the better transitioned wrestlers that came from a previous sport. You know, she's about as close to a female Kurt Angle as we can get. Not quite as good in the ring as Kurt, not quite as good on the mic as Kurt, but still close and still the same type of transition. So I've always been pro Ronda Rousey. I think fans are idiots who get mad at her and, oh, she doesn't know this and doesn't understand that. People trying to educate a WWE champion on how wrestling works. I can't believe this. I can't believe I live in a universe where this shit goes on. I read Twitter. So many people attacking Ronda Rousey about the proper way to do things. You know, I'm like, goddamn, this is all orchestrated by WWE. How does this not register? I just don't understand. You know, I mean, it's one thing to like your favorites and boo the people you don't like, and it's one thing to root for, you know, who you want to see win and everything, but to try to pretend to be objective or unbiased, and you know you're looking out for the best interest of the business. Bullshit. You know, you love Becky, you hate everybody else, and we all know that. I love Becky as much as you do. The craziest one, the funniest one, was on Twitter a few days ago. This dude, I don't even know his name. He's got Becky Lynch as his profile picture, Becky Lynch as his banner picture, and is trying to educate me, 40-plus something year old GoodMicWork, you know, about how wrestling should work and the proper etiquette to wrestling. Ronda Rousey, she's shooting too hard, and you know Becky's trying to work and keep it respectful to the business, and Ronda's doing this or that. I'm like, you're so full of shit. If the roles were reversed here and Becky Lynch was the one to say these things on Twitter, the fans would love it. They would love it. Oh, Becky Lynch is so innovative. She's so creative with how she gets over. You know, she's doing things that no other wrestler has ever done before her. All this shit. You know, that Twitter beef that they had with each other a few days ago was hilarious. Hilarious. It created a ton of buzz, and it has added a ton of interest now to whatever the hell they're going to do between these three ladies at WrestleMania. I didn't care that Ronda Rousey said the word fake. You know, did we really have to be that mad about it? Fake, not my favorite word to use, but it didn't freak me out. And as far as breaking kayfabe, who cares? Who cares? WWE breaks kayfabe every day. They have 2 documentaries up right now that got released just in this last week on the WWE Network that break kayfabe from beginning to end. Every single WWE documentary, every single interview, sometimes on Raw and Smackdown, in promos and commercials and things that they do outside of the ring, they're breaking fucking kayfabe. It ain't 1982. There is no such thing as exposing the business. So forget about that argument. Ronda Rousey breaking kayfabe, fuck off. Doesn't matter. Using the F word, saying fake, not my favorite thing, but got a shit ton of people talking, got a shit ton of people mad at her, and if WWE's plan was to turn her heel a couple of nights later on Monday Night Raw, job well done. Mission accomplished. Because fans wanted to boo her, WWE said boo her. And it's what they're doing with Ronda Rousey right now that I wish they would have done with John Cena back in the day, or with Roman Reigns right now, which gives me hope for the future that if WWE is willing to do this with Ronda, maybe they're willing to do this with other people as well. They could also be doing this with Ronda to really get her hated and jobbed out the door. If she is going to take a year off to have babies or leave the company for an extended period of time, having her be a heel, pissing all the fans off, having Becky tap her out at WrestleMania is a great way to kind of pass the torch on to Becky. Ronda can leave for a while. Fans hate her anyway. Love is in the air for Becky Lynch, right? So they could be doing it because of that reason as well. But I think it's promising, and it gives me hope for the future that maybe WWE will do something like this with the men in the future if the same type of deal arises. If you have a rising up, babyface. They did it with Batista, right? In 2014, when Daniel Bryan, Batista tried to win that Royal Rumble as a babyface. At least WWE knew that, turned him heel, made Daniel Bryan the good guy, and it's kind of the same thing here. This is very reminiscent of 2014 in a lot of ways. So I don't have any issue with anything Ronda Rousey said on Twitter. I don't have any issue with anything she said in her YouTube video where she's shitting on the fans and getting mad at them. And the fans are all mad about that. Like, oh, Ronda Rousey's breaking rules. No, she's not. My God. It amazes me how people who really at the end of the day are just marks at heart, really we all are, but they try to pretend that they're trying to look at it from like an analyst perspective, trying to be like objective and, oh, this is the way you should do this and this is the way you should do that. No, just be a fan and shut up. That's your job. That's my job. That's all of our jobs. That's why I never pretend that somebody's doing something the wrong way. Because really at the root of that, every single time, it just has to do with who you like and who you don't like. Every single time. And I see it way too much on Twitter. People tweet me their opinions. Oh, don't you think it's fucked up that Ronda Rousey did this or that? I'm like, no, I don't think it's fucked up at all. I think you're getting worked and you're getting pissed, and that's what it's designed to do. So bravo to Ronda Rousey. Bravo to WWE for injecting some realism and some heat and some speculation. The fans, did you see the news stories? There was wrestling news sites wondering if, or claiming or speculating that Ronda Rousey might have worked herself into a shoot. I was so sick of hearing that phrase over the last 3 days. I'm like, the only people working themselves into a shoot are the fans. I fully expect or would think that during all this Twitter beef on the side, Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch are texting each other like, oh shit, that was great. Fuck yeah, we're getting everybody pissed off. I wouldn't, nobody's doing anything for real and what the fuck. So fans are crazy. Fans are crazy. Alex Dredge, thank you, buddy. Just became a patron. Thank you for the donation there. I'll log into Patreon and make sure I shoot you a follow over on Twitter if you got a handle. Thank you very much, my man. You are the best. We still have to talk about the main event, and we are 35 minutes into the stream here, so we got plenty of time. We've got Daniel Bryan defending the WWE title against Kevin Owens. It seems like all of these title matches are always switched last minute. They've been doing this shit since Survivor Series and flopping around opponents. Kevin Owens came out of left field. We all knew Kevin Owens was coming back. We all know that he would be injected somewhere on Raw or SmackDown, but just to come back as a babyface and challenge Daniel Bryan in the way that he did with Vince McMahon's help. Vince McMahon, who is kind of a heelish guy right now because he yanked Becky Lynch out of that match initially. Now he's doing it to Kofi, another beloved star, but then replacing him with a babyface, it ain't adding up. I think this babyface Kevin Owens is temporary. I think this babyface Kevin Owens is a ruse, and I think he'll eventually go heel at some point, and I don't know why they're giving us this match. Kevin Owens isn't going to win that belt. I just don't think he's going to win the belt. It's Daniel Bryan's belt right now, and I think he needs to take it into WrestleMania. And since they yanked Kofi Kingston out of the match, y'all thinking what I'm thinking. Yes, I agree. We are pro wrestling. I said that line on Twitter today. Hook, line, sinker. If anybody's tweeting me any sort of anger about Ronda Rousey, that's my response. Hook, line, sinker. So don't waste your breath or your tweet. But getting back to Kevin Owens and Daniel Bryan, I just don't like the match because I think it's out of left field. And if they are throwing this together because they have bigger plans for Kofi at Mania, putting the belt on Kevin Owens, why? Why would you do that? So Daniel Bryan, I think, will retain. Don't know if he's going to beat Owens clean. Don't know if Daniel Bryan is going to have help. Don't know if maybe this is a way to add another member to Daniel Bryan's faction. I felt like he's going to be adding someone. I felt that from the minute we saw Eric Rowan appear, whenever that was. And was that at Royal Rumble? Whenever that was, when Rowan showed up, I'm like, well, they're probably going to get Harper to join him or something, and Daniel Bryan will create, a little mini faction. We have not seen that yet. Daniel Bryan is facing a babyface. Maybe he needs some help to get by him, and maybe we have Luke Harper show up, or maybe even Bray Wyatt. We don't know what Bray is going to be doing either. Bray Wyatt, didn't he return last year at WrestleMania? So maybe would they save Bray Wyatt's return for this year? I don't know. But I think maybe Daniel Bryan gets some help, retains against Kevin Owens, and then he's got a 3-man unit to potentially go on to WrestleMania now to face Kofi Kingston, who's got a couple of guys with him as well. And you can have a whole bunch of New Day versus Daniel Bryan and his buddies matches leading up to WrestleMania. And then you do Daniel Bryan and Kofi at Mania. You got to think that's what they're going to do, because they wouldn't yank Kofi out of this if they weren't going to plug him in somewhere else. And I think maybe for once, this is something that really fell in their laps. And we wouldn't even be talking about this had Mustafa Ali not got that black eye. That put Kofi Kingston in the gauntlet match. That put Kofi Kingston in the Elimination Chamber. And he fell short both times. Great performance. Fans start screaming for him to be champ. WWE's recognizing this and adjusting their storylines to adhere to that. And it also makes me wonder, and some of you were bringing this up to me on Twitter, and I agree 100%, that it would be really hard to believe that WWE is going to give us happy ending after happy ending after happy ending. All the months since Roman Reigns' leukemia announcement that I've been saying that Seth Rollins should beat Brock Lesnar clean, curb stomp him, win the title, have that feather in his cap. I've wanted that all along. Becky Lynch, we know she's going to get her moment. We know that at WrestleMania. So you're telling me WWE is going to beat Brock and yank that belt off of him finally. They're going to give Becky Lynch the big moment in the main event, and they're going to give Kofi the belt? Something's got to give there. We're not getting all three. And again, if you have, like I mentioned with Asuka, I don't think she should drop the belt right now for a while, because any sort of a title change for the women on SmackDown is going to pale in comparison to the Raw title. So just have Asuka quietly roll and go on a run and worry about her dropping the belt when the spotlight is not so heavily on the Raw title. That's what I would do there. Same thing, with these guys. And I think that, oh God, I get so nervous, with the potential of what WWE could do here, especially if they're setting us up for all this other shit. If they're setting us up for Becky Lynch and Kofi Kingston, I just think that we're not going to get any sort of title change with Seth and Brock. So maybe Brock Lesnar retains, then we get Becky Lynch's moment, then we get Kofi Kingston. And if Seth Rollins is to win the belt, much like the Asuka situation dropping her belt, I don't want Kofi's title victory to be secondary. And that's both SmackDown titles too, if you notice that. So if you do a SmackDown women's title change, it's going to pale in comparison to Raw. And if you do a SmackDown or a WWE title change, it's also going to pale in comparison to the Universal title, because I feel like Seth and Brock is the bigger match. So you might have Brock retain, which every time I just say that gives me a heart attack. And then you can give Kofi the moment. Kofi's title victory will mean something. The fans will be happy. The fans will be satisfied. We will also get the Becky Lynch moment in the main event, which means all of the anger of Brock Lesnar retaining the title might be minimized. And Brock and Seth aren't main eventing either. I also feel like you should consider title changes, as to where they're placed on the card. And Seth and Brock is going to be on the undercard somewhere. So you can maybe have Brock Lesnar just win and then have both matches come after. I would have Brock Lesnar's match come prior to Kofi's victory and Becky's victory, if they do that. That way it kind of gets forgotten about, fans go home happy kind of thing. But I have a hard time believing that we're going to get all three of those. I just don't see I don't think we're going to see title changes across the board. And then for the people that think Asuka is going to lose the belt at WrestleMania, no, they're not going to do that. Brock Ronda, Asuka, and Bryan all dropping the belt at WrestleMania? How? I just, no. We can't see that. I just don't think we can see that. I don't think WWE does that. They do not like to please the fans that much. And again, with all those title changes, some of them are going to feel less important. We all want this big moment for Kofi. I don't know how they're going to do this on TV, but they're probably going to plug him back in to face Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. We all want that moment for him. But if Ronda wins and Seth wins, isn't his moment kind of shoved aside? Isn't his moment kind of forgotten? So and unless it's the main event or something, it's the very last thing you see. But I would think that I would like to have Kofi stand out. I would like to see his victory stand out at WrestleMania. And if he's one of the only people to win titles on that show, it will stand out. If he wins on the undercard and Becky wins in the main event, I think that would be good. But Seth winning too, I think that's going to diminish it. So I don't think they would move and pull Kofi Kingston out of this match if they didn't have plans to put the belt on him. I thought for sure originally Daniel Bryan would just beat Kofi Kingston at Fastlane. They'd give him a title shot. They'd let the fans go nuts for him. Daniel Bryan would beat him, adding more heat to Daniel Bryan, and then he can go into WrestleMania to face some new opponent. But Kofi Kingston might be that new opponent, and I think Kofi Kingston, at the end of the day, as much as he deserves it, and as much as I love him, and there's nobody on that roster that deserves a run more than him, I think a Kofi Kingston title win at WrestleMania would likely be a distraction to Brock Lesnar retaining the Universal title, which means this motherfucker is going to be holding that belt hostage longer, and Roman might be the one to take it off of him. Yeah, Noah, I didn't think Kofi would win either. Had the match stayed the same, had Bryan faced Kofi at Fastlane, I didn't think he was going to win. I thought Daniel Bryan would retain. Now that they've taken him out, makes me think they're going to put him at Mania, and I don't think you would switch that match at all if Kofi wasn't going to win either time. If they're not going to have him win the title, then it doesn't matter when he loses to Daniel Bryan. He could lose at Fastlane, lose at WrestleMania, doesn't matter. So the very fact that they took him out of that is a big telling sign that he's going to go into Mania and probably win the belt. And like I said, I think that's going to be a distraction. And but that's okay. If we can't have everything, if we get Becky and we get Kofi, could you live with Brock? Could you handle it for a few more months? I know I say that every time. I'm like, don't worry, just hold out a couple more months. He'll drop the belt. And I thought all signs were pointing to him dropping it at Mania. And I think had Roman not come back, he would have. I think Roman's return has changed everything for WWE. Man, I don't think we could ever get away with a 3-hour WrestleMania anymore. No way. No way. Oh, Kofi, that's a good idea too. You might want to have some fun things take place on Raw or SmackDown the night after WrestleMania or 2 nights after WrestleMania. So maybe holding off a Kofi victory for the SmackDown after Mania would be all right. But again, man, the fans are so burnt out by then. I remember last year, by the time we got to SmackDown, I'm like, my God, is it over? Because, it's Hall of Fame, it's NXT, it's WrestleMania, it's Raw, so much stuff. I don't know. I would give Kofi his moment at WrestleMania. I think just Kofi deserves to say he won the WWE title at WrestleMania. And there won't be a fan in the audience booing that. Everybody likes Kofi Kingston. And he's not one of the more standout stars that WWE has ever had. I think the fans just appreciate him because he's always been there. He's always been relevant. He always gives good matches. He's always been a hard worker. He's always been very well liked by the fans and the community and his peers and all of that. Nobody's ever said a bad thing about the guy. You don't hear a shoot interview where people say, man, that Kofi Kingston is an asshole. Nobody says that. So just from a pure, he deserves it standpoint, slap the belt on Kofi for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever. What can it hurt? And I like Daniel Bryan as champion. I think he's awesome. One of the more interesting characters in WWE, but sure, have him drop it to Kofi and maybe have him win it back at the next pay-per-view or something, just to give Kofi the due, just to give him the nod. He kind of got a Raw deal ever since the stupid or whatever by Randy Orton, and Kofi deserves it. Rude Killer, thanks for the super chat. Well, yeah, Roman gets the booze a lot faster if Seth loses. That's true. But I just think WWE's setting us up for way too much happiness, and something's got to happen. Last year I thought for sure I did not see Roman Reigns losing that match to Brock Lesnar. So it is possible that maybe they do with Ronda what they do with Brock. Maybe Seth does win, and maybe Kofi does win, but maybe Ronda taps out Becky. I doubt it, but maybe. Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of title matches on pay-per-views, and like that's the thing. When it comes to these matches, I always have to look at the card. I have to stand back and look at all of it, because if you just predict each match individually in a vacuum, there's so much other shit to consider. Like, how many other title changes are you gonna have on the show? Where does this match fit on the card? You know, it might be real easy to say, oh yeah, have Seth Rollins beat Brock Lesnar. Well, if Becky's getting a big moment and Kofi's getting a moment too, they might not do that. So I always have to look at like the whole card when I'm making my predictions. I'm like, well, I only have 2 title changes and I got this amount of heels winning, and you know, it's got to balance out more, I think, for the most part. And I always just maybe overthink it at times, but I always have in mind like how many other matches there are and shit like that. I'm always thinking about that stuff. Yeah, that's true too. You know, maybe Ronda Rousey taps out Charlotte at WrestleMania and then allows for a rematch, and we eventually do get that one-on-one between Becky and Ronda. But you know, WrestleMania just seems like, you know, with as over as Becky is and how she's kind of the one right now, she's the, you know, the pride and joy of the female division, at least in the fans of the eyes of the fans. WrestleMania is the moment for her. Charlotte, I think, is just in there because how can she not be? She's the cornerstone of the women's division. WWE is, you know, gonna make her a Rushmore person. They're gonna turn her into her dad, is what the plans are for her, and she's good. It's not like she sucks. So I think all along the plan was probably to have Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania. I was saying that prior to Evolution. I was one of the first ones. I want to take full credit, and I never take full credit for anything. But I know for a fact I was one of the first ones that had the idea for a female main event. Because in my head, I was thinking that if you ever going to do that, this is your best year to do it. Ronda Rousey, Charlotte, do that match. They haven't faced each other yet. And then Nia Jax changed everything. So if anything, Becky got added to WrestleMania. And Charlotte was pretty much planned to be there all along. I apologize for the sirens and the noises going on outside. It's the middle of the day, and things are loud on Friday. But yeah, I mean, Becky, God, I just remember back to how angry those fans were at Nia Jax. Y'all should all be writing her a thank you letter. Had it not been for Nia Jax, Becky Lynch would be nowhere near this WrestleMania main event right now. She would have had that match with Ronda, probably got beat, and who knows where she'd be right now. Probably wouldn't even been winning the Royal Rumble. Or unless they did a rematch with Ronda, but there was just no way of keeping Charlotte out of this main event. So WWE's taking a windy road to get Charlotte in there to where it makes it look like they're adding Becky, and you know, when, you know, sirens run, Greg. They're not here after me. They're not coming after me. They did sound close, though. They might be here. What are you asking me, James? Last Mania, which was WrestleMania 31, with a normal runtime, was the last great one. Any coincidence? I don't think that was the last great one. I loved 33. I like 34. 32 sucked. I've liked the last 2. I don't think 31 was the last great one. Not at all. But I did like 31. The only thing I don't like about 31, and the only thing I don't like about West Coast shows, is the daylight. When they were in Arizona a few years ago for 26, it was very bright in there. Sting's entrance did not look right coming out in the broad daylight like that. I didn't really like the look of it. I thought the main event looked good because by then it was getting dark, and the Seth victory was very memorable. But all in all, I'd almost prefer them be indoors and in the dark. By the way, why don't we talk about that before I get out of here? We got 10 minutes left. I'm going to hang out here for 10 minutes. I wanted to stream for an hour, so I want to talk about Jim Ross, and we'll also talk about WrestleMania 36. Jim Ross is done with WWE. Yeah, we all had a feeling that Ross was going to go work with AEW, and whatever contract he had with WWE couldn't have been that ironclad. He's been calling for Japan and stuff, so it's probably kind of a minor deal that he's wrapped up. Jim Ross, I'm sure, will appear on WWE television again in some capacity one day. But yeah, I hope he does go over to All Elite Wrestling and call some of their matches. That would be great. Good for him, and I wish him well. But WrestleMania yesterday, I'm talking about that right now, Zane. I'm glad somebody reminded me because I almost forgot to talk about that. It was revealed that they're going back to Florida. Tampa gets WrestleMania this time, which that kind of surprises me. I've been down to Tampa a lot. Not my favorite city, but I'm not surprised that they're going back to Florida. And another thing that fans like have to consider about these WrestleManias, again, it's very easy to go on Twitter and say, I can't believe they're going back there. They were just there 2 years ago. Or I can't believe they're going here. They were already there. They've already been to New York. They've already been to New Orleans. You got to understand how limited WWE is. There are heavy limitations for where WrestleManias can be. You have two options. Indoors, which can be anywhere across the country. And maybe we'll talk about some of the indoor arenas. And we're talking football stadiums. But if you're not indoors and you have an outdoor stadium, you don't have many options. You've got Florida and you've got here in California. When that new stadium in LA is built, you know WrestleMania will be going there. You know they'll go back to the Bay Area where 31 was. Vegas is going to have a stadium. They'll be fine to be outdoors there. Or Florida because it's warm. Florida, you are taking a heavy risk with rain. One of these days there's going to be a damn thunderstorm and it's going to fuck up WrestleMania. But Orlando, Miami, Tampa, you can have outdoors because it's warm. The only cold weather market I feel that the WWE are going to risk going to is New York. I think Philly is out of luck. Baltimore, fuck off. Chicago, hell no. You guys are too damn cold. They're not going to go there, and it's a shame. And if these cities want a WrestleMania, throw a roof on your stadiums. I don't know why these cold weather cities have outdoor stadiums to begin with. And MetLife pisses me off more than anybody else because they have 2 football teams there. Put this shit indoors, man. Put a roof on it. Don't torture your fans in the blistering cold. But New York is such a big WWE market. It's pretty much WWE's home. They have to go there. So they put heated ring posts up and all that. But, man, Chicago is balls cold. I was there a couple years ago in mid-April, and it was like 21 degrees. It just wouldn't work, man. So when it comes to WrestleMania, there's only a few cities you can do. And when it comes to outdoors, like I said, New York, California, Florida, Vegas, places like that. Otherwise, it's going to be indoors. Now, who has indoor stadiums? Who can they go to? They've been to Houston. They've been to Dallas recently. They're definitely going to go back there. Arizona, same thing. There's a beautiful new stadium in Minneapolis that I would expect them to go there. I thought they were going to go there for 36. Maybe it'll be 37. There's also a beautiful stadium in Atlanta. And you know they're going to go back there soon because they were there at 27. You're coming up on 10 years ago now. I definitely see them going back to Atlanta. New Orleans, of course, has got a roof on their place. And who am I missing aside from that? Indianapolis, the big, what is their place called? I forgot what, not Safeco, but where the Colts play. That's a beautiful indoor arena. Indianapolis might not be the greatest market, but, you know, it's at least it's a big, beautiful indoor stadium that could house WrestleMania. And another city that I feel could survive an outdoor WrestleMania and definitely deserves it is Charlotte. I know I'm biased because I'm from North Carolina, but I think Charlotte is a great city for wrestling. They have an outdoor arena, but by the time you get to April, weather shouldn't be that bad. It shouldn't be any worse than New York, and it certainly isn't going to be cold, freezing cold like Philly or Chicago. So Charlotte is a city that I think should get a WrestleMania. Oh, Ford Field, thank you. Duh. Ford Field should definitely get one again. Jerry World will definitely get one again. But I think Charlotte is one of the few outdoor arenas in the country, aside from Florida or California, that you could do a WrestleMania in. And I know this is morbid to say that, but maybe when, I don't know, sometime in the future when Ric Flair passes away, sorry to say that, maybe you put WrestleMania in Charlotte as a tribute to Rick or something like that. I don't know. But I would really like, yes, I'm biased, but I think Charlotte deserves a WrestleMania. But when I was thinking about outdoor arenas across the country that could house a WrestleMania, Charlotte was the only city I could think of. Baltimore's a toilet. Philly, no, too cold. Like I said, Chicago, no. St. Louis, too cold. Who am I missing? Denver, no, too cold. So I'm thinking in terms of NFL stadiums, your options are limited. So it may feel like, oh, Toronto, thank you very much. Skydome. Yeah, I can definitely see them going back to Toronto. I think when it comes to WrestleManias and where they can be, the reason that it feels like they're returning to places is because they don't have that many options. But they got a few more options now. You're going to have LA, Vegas, Minneapolis, and Atlanta, all new stadiums, all new options, and I think they'll be back there. They'll definitely go back to Jerry World. They'll definitely go back to Houston. They'll definitely go back to Arizona. Would like to see them go to Indianapolis. All that stuff would be great. Green Bay, oh God, Green Bay, too cold. Seattle, again, too cold. Seattle will be a great city too, but the Seahawks play in that outdoor, balls cold stadium. Foxborough, no. No, too cold. Too small of a market too. If they're going to go to Foxborough, they go to Chicago before Foxborough, and I don't see them going to Chicago. I thought about Nashville. Nashville, I thought, would be similar to Charlotte in terms of climate, weather, things like that. I thought Nashville could be a possibility. They could make the whole thing Nashville themed. But so I'm not ruling out Nashville. But yeah, I thought about them. We Are Pro Wrestling. Kansas City, no, too cold. That fucking building. Didn't you see the playoff game there with the Chiefs in January? My God, too cold, freezing. Oh yeah, they can use the Rams Dome in St. Louis. I guess you're right. That is true. So St. Louis, I guess, could work. I was thinking of where the Chiefs play. That's Kansas City. Yeah, St. Louis could use that. That's true. So there are places, but I don't know if St. Louis just isn't a sexy place. St. Louis is in the smack dab middle of the country. There's nothing there. Lot of wrestling history, great wrestling history. I don't know if it's a place where, nobody gets like a couple weeks vacation and being like, oh man, I need some time in St. Louis. Nobody says that. So I just don't know if it's a city that WWE would even want to go to. But I also like the idea of going to a city that, WrestleMania can help give a boost to or help bring back to life. Some sort of a dying market that isn't doing so well, like a Detroit, a struggling area that could benefit from something like WrestleMania coming in. New York doesn't need it. They're in the middle of a big prosperity party in New York, so they don't need anything like that. But going to a city like Detroit would be really good. And they were there for 23, haven't been back since. They're overdue. So Ford Field, I think, would be another one. Rose Bowl, yes. Pasadena, anything out here would work. Anything in California would be fine because it never rains. And then Florida is warm. No, in Mexico City, I doubt it. And again, in London, no. Like, I would love, nobody deserves a WrestleMania more than England, but putting a WrestleMania over there for that UK portion of the country, just timing wouldn't work out. 90% of their business is here in the States. And it's not fair that you guys have to stay up till 2 a.m. to watch shows all the time. But until that audience is as big as the US audience, I don't think WWE would do it. And it's not a slight on London or anything like that. You guys deserve it. Trust me, the wrestling fans over there are awesome. A ton of you live over there, listen to this podcast. It's just WWE isn't going to do that because they're going to lose viewers, I guess. I don't know how to explain it. I just don't think they'll ever do that again. Back in the day, they could get away with it doing it at SummerSlam because it wasn't so bad with the times and stuff. And shit, even back then you could tape stuff. But you couldn't do that with a WrestleMania, I don't think. I just don't think you could. Hawaii would be fun. Expensive. My God, for them to go over there. Yeah, I'm surprised about LA too, but I think they're waiting. That's going to be a crazy new stadium. So I think they'll be there almost immediately once that stadium's done. I'd say the next couple of years. I'd say they'll be there by WrestleMania 40, probably before that. I'd put 37 or 38 out here for sure. And if they bring 37 out here, I'm going. Because that's right up the road. They're not going to do MSG just because of the size. WrestleMania cost wouldn't stop them from going into MSG. But for WrestleMania, they're not going to go into a small building. But I think just regular shows, there are some cost issues there. And they're not running the Garden very much. They aren't. I never read your post. I'm sorry, AJ. What do you want? Changing the TV rating? No, they're not doing that. Yeah, MSG is expensive. Yeah, they're probably not going to run too many pay-per-views, Raws, or house shows there anymore, but whatevs. And what is the night of the Ring of Honor Japan show there? Is that the Friday? I think they're a day apart from NXT. They're not running head-to-head with NXT, right? I think this year it's Hall of Fame Friday, NXT Saturday, I think, is what's happening. Yeah, well, I already mentioned with Royal Rumble going to Minute Maid Park next year, I would love to see them come to Petco. Because Petco Park, the only time of year they could really hold a big show would be Royal Rumble. Summertime wouldn't work because of baseball, and neither could WrestleMania because of baseball. They would never get in and out of here in time before the Padres return, especially with how elaborate these sets are. WWE needs a good week or two in those buildings to get that shit set up. So Petco Park here in San Diego would be perfect for Royal Rumble because nobody's using the damn place in January. And if they're trying to make this a tradition, you know, with them going to baseball stadiums for Royal Rumbles, which I would love if that became a thing, that would make Royal Rumble one of probably my favorite pay-per-view of the year, just with the different feel and the way it looks. And I love the way it looked this past one. And Minute Maid Park will be fun next year. So heading out here to Petco would be fabulous. And it would be cool if it was like just a Royal Rumble thing. I know they went to Safeco for 19 a few years back, but if they didn't try to put WrestleManias in baseball stadiums anymore and just left that to Royal Rumble, that could be fun. I'd be down for that. Be a nice little random tradition. And it'll be the one time a year, or the 2 times a year with WrestleMania, that we could actually get a different pay-per-view set. Which now is just so generic. It sucks. Yes, Rude Killer, meant to mention that as well. Samoa Joe, new U.S. champ. Thank you. Somebody reminded me, or somebody asked me about him and John Cena, and I told you guys to remind me. Yeah, he won the U.S. title. It was a fatal 4-way on Smackdown, right? Finally got that belt off of R-Truth. Pretty much all you could do with Samoa Joe at this point. I mentioned a while back that maybe you should turn him face, because I don't know what else to do with him. But giving him the U.S. title, sure. I don't know why he wasn't on my radar. I was thinking more in terms of Andrade winning the U.S. title. Not Samoa Joe, but Joe wound up winning it. Great. Now he needs an opponent for WrestleMania. So does John Cena. A lot of rumors about John Cena and Joe now for WrestleMania, and y'all ain't going to like my prediction on that. I think WrestleMania these days should be a good way for John Cena to go in there and put someone over, like a Lars Sullivan, like was the plan, maybe like a Drew McIntyre, somebody that's going to be there for the future and, you know, help their career and that sort of thing. With Samoa Joe, I think Samoa Joe will go down. I think John Cena, if it turns out to be Cena and Samoa Joe, Cena will beat him. Samoa Joe isn't some spring chicken that's going to be the future of the WWE. He's getting older. He's had a lot of injuries. I don't see Joe having any sort of launching or long run on top. But a big, high-profile title match with John Cena at WrestleMania would be a great payday for Joe. Great spot on the card, rekindling his previous history with John Cena that dates back prior to their WWE days. I think will be a fun match, but in the end, I think Joe might lose. Whoops. Sorry. If John Cena was going in there against Sullivan, going in there against Drew McIntyre, somebody else, name somebody, some other like young dude, Braun Strowman, somebody like that, I'd have John Cena losing hands down. But against Samoa Joe, I think Cena will beat him, because I think Cena's still going to have another run with the Universal title, or with the World title. I think he'll win the Universal at some point. He's got to. He needs that feather in his cap. Oh, man, I don't know, Zombie Fighter. Royal Rumble in Comerica Park would be cool. It ain't going to happen, though. They're going to be wrestling in 3 feet of snow. Fucking January in Detroit. Past the pistol. My God. That would be cold as shit. But if they are doing the Royal Rumble in baseball stadiums, it gives us a whole lot of possibilities. I don't think they're going to go cold weather unless they absolutely have to. But there's so many now that they could do. Leo Rush versus Cena? Yeah. Baron Corbin versus Cena? Oh my God. Yeah, maybe Cena has a quick title run. Maybe he wins the U.S. title at WrestleMania, drops it on the Smackdown after Mania, and goes off to make another movie or something. Who knows? Oh, man, Darth Corndog. Interesting name. I like it. Appreciate the super chat, man. That's awesome. All you got to do is just rewind about 5 minutes. I just got done talking about WrestleMania and Tampa and the whole deal. The logo, I haven't paid much attention to it. Not sure really what it looks like, to be honest with you. I think I've seen it. It's kind of... looks a little brown and shit, right? They'll probably spice it up a little more as we get into next year. Fenway for SummerSlam. Now, Fenway, the weather wouldn't be an issue in the summer, so there'd be nothing stopping them from going to the north for a SummerSlam, although Fenway's small, and they'd have to do an awful lot. I worry that WWE would break Fenway. I mean, Fenway is so old, and it's fragile. And WWE bringing all their shit in there with all their crazy sets and everything, I'd worry they'd collapse the damn building. So for the preservation of Fenway, because I love, the history and places like that, and Wrigley Field, I'd say keep the WWE out of there so they don't murder it. John Cena versus Mustafa Ali, be a good match, but I don't know how you get to that one. Mustafa Ali, too, poor guy. I hope they figure out something for him, because he would probably be the one in Kofi's spot if it weren't for him getting injured. So I hope they figure out something for him to kind of rebound and do something fun at WrestleMania. Oh, God, Mania in Tampa. Shane McMahon jumps off the pirate ship. Yeah, he's going to jump off something. You know, there's a lot of WrestleMania speculation. You know, Roman Reigns, we'll find out probably soon enough, but Roman Reigns is going to have to do something at WrestleMania. And he could face Baron Corbin one-on-one. Oh, I think you're pushing it there. You think Brock's going to keep the title until 2022. I will bet everything against that. There's not one atom in my body that believes that. Oh, okay. They're kind of doing a Tampa Bay twist on the logo. Okay. You know, with the WrestleMania logos, I really don't care these days. That shit doesn't bother me. I don't care what the logos look like. I just want the show to be good. I want it to be good. And I'm always nervous every time they go to Florida. I'm like, just please don't rain. One of these years, it's going to bite them in the ass. I'm telling you. It's going to bite them in the ass. They're going to have rain and wind and lightning. And oh my God. Kane will get struck by lightning. Something like that. Maybe Michael Cole will. That would be good. Rumble at Dodger Stadium? Sure. They'll probably get out to California eventually. I don't think Becky's really losing steam. The fans are so up her ass. They know what she had for breakfast, to quote X-Pac. The feud is a little convoluted, but I don't care. I don't want it to be predictable. And I even predicted Charlotte to win at Fastlane just to throw one more twist at us along the way. I don't want it to be as easy. If just Becky wins every match and then wins at WrestleMania. No, come on. You got to have some fun with it. So it's a little bit convoluted because they're starting shit and stopping shit. Vince yanked Becky Lynch out, but then Stephanie put her back in. So why didn't Stephanie just veto Vince to begin with? And then Ronda Rousey gives up the belt. Stephanie makes the match at Fastlane for the title, and then by the end of Raw, Ronda's the champion again. They're definitely making me a little bit dizzy, but overall, I don't care. I think it's the most interesting title feud they have going on right now, and all the shit on Twitter and social media and all of Ronda Rousey's shoot comments are really helping, and I'm okay with the way it's going so far. And I really liked what we saw last week. You know, Ronda Rousey got those fans booing her, especially the way she was laying into Becky Lynch, stepping on her face. Oh my God, there's heat in this feud, which is something we don't see very often. So I'm cool with what they're doing. Maybe I wouldn't write it exactly the same way they are, but I like their idea of just keeping us guessing along the road to where it's not as predictable. Oh man, imagine Kairi Sane with a pirate entrance at WrestleMania 36. That's true. And look at that. Look at the time. Oh my, I got to get out of here. It is 10 past 4, and I got to leave the house in like 10 minutes. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for joining me on this Friday stream. I've been liking this tradition of doing the predictions the Friday prior. It's been working out. So thanks for hanging out. We had over 100 people in here for a Friday afternoon. Is not bad. I'll be up here this Sunday for the main card, not the kickoff. So make sure you join me on YouTube. Check back to the channel tomorrow or something. I'll have a link up for Sunday's live stream. Make sure you follow me on Twitter. You can catch the link and pick up all the information over there as well. And check the description. It's loaded with goodies. And I love you. Thanks for hanging out. Talk to y'all real soon. Be good. Peace.